Hey guys, Brian Martin United coming to you with a little bit of a quick news update. I know I don't do these often. I might try and do these a little more regularly. But you guys know how I do. I'm pretty casual with this. I try and stream most games, do a watch along for that, do some post game thoughts. So trying my hand again at this news thing. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, I want to talk about a few things. New midfielder, new keeper, and of course Rasmus Højlund, who we know was left out at the weekend. So, in terms of new midfielders, there are three names that keep coming up: um, Adam Morton, Hillman, and Carlos Baleba. So Adam Morton, he's 21. He's about 6 feet tall. He played 20 games last season, had 0 goals and 2 assists, 2 yellows, and 0 reds. I think he's at Palace right now. Then Morton Hillman, who's at Lisbon. He's 26, so a little more experience. He's 6'1". He's got 1 goal already this season. Last season he played 28 games. He had 2 goals, 2 assists, 9 yellow cards, and 1 red. And then there's Carlos Baleba, who is at Brighton. He is 21. He is 5'10", so he's the shortest out of the bunch. He played the most games out of the bunch, though. 34 games, 3 goals, and an assist, 7 yellows, and 1 red. Now, the extra bit about Baleba is that he completed a lot more dribbles and won a lot more duels and aerial duels, despite being shorter than both Hillman and Wharton. So already, by the way, I just said that you probably know that my preferred pick would be Carlos Baleba. I think that's most people's preferred pick. To be honest, I'm not gonna sit here and say I've watched any of these guys a ton. I've probably watched them when they were playing, us or one of the other big teams or what have you. But I haven't exactly tuned in to watch Wharton or Hillman or Baleba. Um, but just looking at some stats and seeing some clips and things and whatnot, you know, and just hearing the general talk, I think Baleba's our guy. And honestly, I would do Ugarte plus cash for Baleba. I know that recently we kind of inquired and Brighton were like, no, he's not for sale this summer. But again, like I said before, anybody's for sale. It's just what the price is, right? It's just how much cash you're gonna offer. Um, so honestly, I would say cash plus Ugarte for Baleba. Because Ugarte for me, you see why PSG sold him. He's just he tries hard. It's just he's just not it. He's just not it. He's not tidy with the ball. He's combative and aggressive, but doesn't win enough duels for me. Um, you know, he's professional, which is good, but he's just not it. I think we can upgrade. I think he would be good for you know a little bit of a weaker side, a team that maybe isn't aiming to win the league, but maybe be competitive. I think he's great for them. So I think it would be a good deal to do Ugarte plus cash for Baleba. If we can't do Baleba, then maybe Ugarte plus cash for Hillman or Wharton. Obviously, Ugarte has a contract with this, so that depends on what he wants to do as well. Hopefully, he doesn't pull a Sancho and just kind of linger and linger and linger. That's a whole nother discussion which I'm not even going to cover in this video. Um, but yeah, but that's my thought, because I mean, if we're keeping Bruno in this kind of eight role, which I don't like for him, then we need an out and out CDM so Bruno can stay further forward. Like I again, if we're keeping Bruno in this eight role, I'd like to see that more as like a pseudo 10 role, right? Because again, like I just said, I hate Bruno in this role. I think he's a 10. And if the closest we can get to him is being a pseudo 10, which is an 8 pushed really far forward, just behind the 10s and Mbeumo and Cunha, then maybe he'd serve us better there. And so for that, we need an out and out CDM. And so I think Baleba could be our guy for that. Um, you know, if we plan to push Bruno back into the 10 position, which I prefer, then we need an 8 who can make late runs and score. And obviously, you guys are gonna hate me for saying it. We had the guy who could do that, and now he's playing at Napoli. You know who I'm talking about. I think he would have been perfect to sit behind Cunha and Mbumo or Cunha and Bruno or Bruno and Mbumo or whoever's there to be that 8 to make late runs to the box and score. Because if you noticed over the weekend, we had crosses into the box and we were looking for cutbacks and people weren't making that late run so well. So anyway, I'll leave that there. Moving on to keepers. So there are rumors that De Gea is being sounded out for a return to Manchester United. I wouldn't mind it. I think he's better than what we got. I know, yes, he was making mistakes towards the end there, but I mean, I'd rather have a De Gea who's making some errors here and there than a fully fit and fighting Onana or Bayindir, who, you know, just aren't quite it. Like, I wouldn't mind Bayindir being maybe a backup. Um, Again, I feel like that goal over the weekend wasn't entirely his fault. I feel like he was getting fouled. Um, and maybe he can learn to kind of toughen up a bit. Maybe Heaton can work with them, or someone, or De Gea, or someone can work with him to toughen him up a little bit. Because he's got the size. I think that he could be a solid backup, but he can't be our number one. So I mean, if De Gea's coming back, I'm not gonna say no to it. Um, if Emi Martinez is the guy, I wouldn't mind that either. I honestly, I don't get the hate for Emi Martinez. I mean, yeah, he's a shit stirrer or whatever. He does his antics or whatever. But I mean, like he's kind of a guy you'd want on your team, right? He's annoying to play against, right? You get annoyed for the players playing against him, but you're also like, yeah, I wouldn't mind having him on my team. So I don't get the hate, or the opposition to him joining, as long as it's not for some like crazy fee or ridiculous wages or anything like that. So I wouldn't mind that one. But honestly, the guy who I would love for us to go after is Andre, sorry if I butchered that, Lunin from Real Madrid. If you guys remember when Courtois was hurt, like that whole season, Lunin held it down. I mean, he more than held it down. He made an argument for being the number one. I think when they got to the UCL final, um, Courtois came back in. But I mean, I I felt like Lunin was hard done by. I wish we had gone in for him then, because he probably would have been more susceptible to leaving Madrid and signing a new deal with us. Um, Speaking of signing new deals, I think he just signed one last year or early this year, until 2030 with Madrid. But I mean, despite that, I would still go in and test the resolve with him, because I mean, that guy should be a number one somewhere. And if he can go in and handle the pressure at Real Madrid and do as well as he did, and as well as he continues to do, um, I think we should go for him. I mean, plus what, he's 26, so I mean, that's pretty, that's young-ish for a goalie, right? For a keeper. Keepers play well into the mid-30s. So I mean, if we signed him, we could probably get darn near a decade out of him, and I'd have a lot more confidence with him back there than I would Onana or Biendir. Um, so anyway, that's my thought on the keeper situation. Um, I'd love for us to again test Madrid's resolve on Lunin, and see if we can pry him away there, because I think he's a top notch goalie. Um, Moving on to Rasmus. So I know I got that down there. Probably wondering why. Obviously, Rasmus was left out at the weekend. Um, you've seen all these photos of him pouting online and whatnot, and you know, I feel bad for him, but you know, what did Barada say? You got 2 years to try and prove yourself, otherwise you're out. Granted, yeah, I mean, he was brought in a crap situation, having to lead the line, at a young age, no real, um, no real mentors in front of him. So that's a lot to put on his young shoulders. I do think there's potential there, but I haven't seen, the improvement, right? Like all I've seen lately is him just getting pissed off because people aren't serving him the ball. And his reactions have been like bigger and bigger. There's one time in preseason where he like flipped out and like kicked the goalpost. I remember tweeting, I was like, bro, like calm down. Like you haven't scored. And it's why people don't trust you, because you're not scoring the opportunities that you do get. Granted, he's not getting a ton, of service. But I think, people saw early on that maybe he's not the guy. I don't know. But, you know, I think he's got to go. And in fact, I kind of had a rebuttal for someone online, or I should say rebuttal. Maybe it was more of like a response, right? Not rebuttal. Rebuttal sounds a little bit was confrontational, right? So it was I'll bring it on the screen. It was Jack. He said, the way we treat players at this club, man, it's not funny at all. And so he had a picture of like, Rasmus looking kind of like, like this and in the stands and just, clearly not happy where he is. So my response here was, I feel bad for him too, but what are we supposed to do? Give him an honorary spot on the bench? That's taking a spot away from someone that could contribute, right? So, like, you know, I get it. I get it. I feel bad for Hoyland. He wants to be here. He's a fan. He fights, but just doesn't have it. I mean, if we don't loan him out, at best, I would say he can be a squad player and maybe try and learn off of a Shesko or, you know, Xerxes, even though I know Xerxes is not much older than him, but I think he's got better movement in the box and better holding up the ball is better all around than Rasmus. Um, just try and learn from those guys, right? And then maybe we throw him in there when we feel like he's, doing well in training and can maybe come in for a cup game or two and lead the line there. Because I mean, he has the makings to be a good striker. I mean, like he's a solid dude. He's a big dude. He's what, 6'3". He's tall. He's not skinny. He's got some size to him. He's definitely got a lot of fight in him, if nothing else. But you just see like some fundamentals that he's got off. Like one thing I was saying about him a lot last season is he's wrestling the player and too focused on that rather than, you know, focusing on sealing the player off near where the ball is going to fall. So like I'm looking up like I'm playing, right? But like the ball's going to drop here, right? Like in front of me. You should be sealing off the player, your defender, but still close enough to try and trap the ball off your chest, off your thigh, or head it back to a teammate, or one time it touch off your foot, something, right? Bring it down. But instead, it's like he's like 10 yards away from where the ball is going to land, and he's super busy wrestling the defender. And the defender's like, sure, I'll do this all day because you're not going to get the ball because you're 10 yards away from it. So things like that, is what worries me with him. It's like it's the fundamental things like that I feel like, okay, even if you're not the best finisher, you're not the quickest, you're not anything else, like at least like try and have some awareness of like the ball and where you are and where your defender is and things like that. So, you know, I don't know, maybe he's just not a back to goal striker. Maybe you just have to slip him through and hope for the best. But again, Premier League defenders are fast. He's fast, but Premier League defenders are fast too. So maybe that worked in other leagues where people were slower, but it's not going to work here in the Prem. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. That was my this side. gotta get a hang of this side. That was my response to Jack here. And by the way, this is not any kind of animosity thing. So please follow Jack. There we go. I'll get there eventually. Please follow Jack. Please follow me as well. On X, it's called now, not Twitter, X. I'm at Brymart United. It is, somewhere on the screen. It's somewhere around here. You see it on the screen. So yeah. Give me a follow. I'm pretty active on there. I try to respond, try to engage with everybody. So you know, we can chat it up there. Like I said, I do my live streams as well during the games. I'll do post match reactions. I try and do those live as well, so you can have your say. Again, I'm a smaller channel, so I'll read out what you say. We can interact a bit more. Your messages won't get buried, like they might do other places. So not to name any names. So yeah. Anyway, that's it from me. I will try to pop back in later this week with some news, but if not, I will see you guys for the game against Fulham. Actually, what? I might do a prediction for that one. I might. So I might do news and I might do a prediction. We'll see. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Peace.